engaging celebrity interviews, exciting updates from Christian filmmakers, movie reviews so you can choose your movies wisely, and so much more here on Faith on Film with Isaac Hernandez and Holly McClure.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Faith on Film. Hello, Holly.
Well, hi, Isaac. Welcome. I'm excited about the show today.
We've got another wonderful show today. We're going to be talking about two movies that are out in theaters right now. The first one is actually part of a very successful franchise, and that is God's Not Dead. I remember when the first God's Not Dead came out and how successful it was and how much I enjoyed it. But today we've got one coming out called God's Not Dead, In God We Trust. And boy, are we living in a time where we got to trust in God, don't we?
We sure are. And we're also going to be talking about a movie, You Gotta Believe, which is another two great films. It's funny because in God's Not Dead, In God We Trust, folks, you're going to see a very familiar face. Now, some of you may be familiar, some of you won't. Years ago, when I was in Los Angeles, a talk show host, I went to a special event at Hugh Hefner's. Okay, it wasn't that kind of event. It was a Sunday movie event. And lots of people came, and you had lunch, and they showed a movie, and it was one of those you meet and greet people things. And there was a young star from Happy Days, from Joni Loves Chachi, Charles in Charge, and Scott Baio was there. And it was fun to watch him as a young man and see him and meet him. Okay, years later, guess who's starring in God's Not Dead, In God We Trust? Scott Baio. And he's not playing a Chachi character or Charles in Charge. He's playing kind of a mean guy, and I'm excited to see this movie and see what's all about it.
Well, that's wonderful because I was a big fan of Chachi. I remember watching the series where he was the I believe it was the nephew of what's his name? The Fonz, yeah. And we used to watch that show all the time. So it's exciting to have him on our show today. That you got to interview him. So so you know what? Let's start off by taking a look at the trailer to the movie God's Not Dead, In God We Trust.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation going under.
Now more than ever, Christians must realize that we are being called to deliver hope to a country that's feeling hopeless. Faith begins where your comfort zone ends. We need to step out into that faith.
We're 6 weeks out from Election Day, and a lot of folks have lost hope in the future of our country.
We must maintain a wall of separation between church and state. Religion has no place in the public square.
Once they bankrupt our country, they will have complete control.
Where did we go wrong, Lord?
We need someone who can light a fire in the voters.
The preacher. He helped on those education hearings.
I've been hired to manage your campaign for Congress.
I'm not a politician.
If you don't take on this fight, we could lose everything.
I found someone to run against you.
Are we worried about a preacher?
My next guest is a candidate for Congress. You're going to get a lot of questions about your faith.
Well, maybe people are looking for more spiritual and moral leadership in Washington.
You're making God an easy target for them, Pastor.
God's not the target, Lottie. Our country is. God's just standing in their way.
I will not be made a fool of. I won't stop until your moral high ground crumbles beneath your feet.
You don't win unless you play by their rules.
I feel like I have two options. I can either do the things my faith asks me not to, or I lose this race. It's like God keeps putting these impossible mountains in front of me.
Perhaps God put those mountains in front of you to show that they can be moved.
Please pray for David, guys.
In God we trust.
This contest is about shaping the future of our nation.
Keep your boy in line. Because like his God, I can give it and I can take it away.
How do you know it's God?
Reverend Hill, your beliefs are a textbook example of Christian nationalism.
Whenever anyone of faith promotes a policy that you don't like, you label them a Christian nationalist. We need to stand up. Send a message to Washington. Tell them you're not ready to give that power up. You have the power to change things. Not me, not him, you.
In God we trust.
And without God, democracy will not and cannot long endure.
Welcome, Scott. I'm so glad you came on the show to talk about this important film, and welcome.
Thank you, Holly. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. This movie, we've seen a lot of the God Not Dead film, but this is very, very different and very relevant and poignant for today. You don't necessarily play a nice character, kind of different for you, wouldn't you say, your character, Wesley?
Yeah, usually play a good guy, but this is kind of a bad guy, kind of a creep. And it was fun to do. It's always fun to be a bad guy. It's pretty easy to do if the writing is done well, and you get there's a lot of freedom in playing a bad guy. So I had a good time on this movie.
You had a good time. I tell you, it's very relevant and current for today.
Yeah.
When did you guys shoot this? Because was it during all this political turmoil at that point, or has it increased since you made this film?
Well, in listening to David A.R. White, who produces these films and is in them, this is the 5th installment. And for some reason, he always seems to be just ahead of some important stuff when he makes these films. It's not planned. And this one, he said, wasn't planned. But I think this one, of course, has been intensified by what's going on in politics right now. But he's just been, whether God is steering him or he's just dang lucky, he just seems to be on the button.
Okay, we've seen the trailer, and of course it's about, running for Congress and the fight between is God in politics or not. And of course it comes to blows, and we find that it's concurrent with everything going on. But yeah, especially with what's happening with this last summer and the last few months before this election running up, it kind of copies and goes hand in hand, doesn't it, in a scary kind of way.
Yeah, it does. It does, absolutely, because statistically speaking, there's 40 million Christians that don't vote. And they need to vote because at some point they're going to miss the boat, and the country that they know and love is going to be gone. So the message here in this movie is you got to vote. Whatever principle you're standing on, whatever is bugging you, whether politics is sleazy and you don't like it. Unfortunately, politics is in everything, every part of our life nowadays. So if you want to get rid of politics in your life, you got to vote. Got to vote this time. And if we can get 10% of those 40 million, 20%, whatever, it's a huge number. And I think will affect change in the country.
I was really surprised to see that number, 40 million, because I think when you think of the patriots and people getting out there and no matter what party you're behind or back, you feel passionate about it, you feel like Christians are getting out there to vote. I was shocked that it was 40 million. That's a big number that could change, like you said, could change the election.
I was shocked too. I would think of people in the country that would absolutely vote to be Christians, but I don't know why. And can't go door to door.
In making this film, are you still in the Hollywood process? Do you find that you yourself have this conflict when you're auditioning for roles and having your personal faith come in conflict with the politics of Hollywood, for sure? Do you find that?
Well, Holly, I was canceled a while back for supporting President Trump. So do I find it? Yes. And, but at the time, I even said in an interview, if I never work again, that's okay. Because I didn't do it for me. I did it for my daughter because I want her to grow up in the country that I grew up in. And I grew up in America, and I don't feel like I live in America anymore.
Oh, it's exactly what I feel, and so many people that I talk to feel. Yeah. And it's so true. And I know, like you said, you were canceled, but because seeing in a film like this, obviously, I think other filmmakers are going to recognize that, well, this is great. You're doing a film like this. Maybe you can do more for faith-based. Dean Cain has been doing it. I mean, others have been doing it and, kind of still making these films. And there's an audience for it. So whether Hollywood likes it or not, I mean, look at Reagan. It got horrible critics reviews this last weekend, but 98% of the audience loves it and wants to support it. So I think like making these kind of films, getting out there, you're going to find the audience that loves it.
This is what I mean, Holly, by America. there are still Americans that live in America, and they don't agree with a lot of the stuff that's going on. The critics hate it. Well, of course the critics hate it because it's about Ronald Reagan, the big bad conservative. But the American people need to vote, and vote your conscience, vote what you want for your country. And it's just that simple. You can vote by mail. At the end of the movie, at the end of God's Not Dead, In God We Trust, there's a QR code. You can, take a photo of that, or however they do it. I'm not even well enough computer-wise to do that, but you can register to vote right there, and it's easy. So just get off your principle and vote.
I love how you said that you're doing it for your daughter. How old is your daughter? Is she grown?
16.
16. Okay. Yes. And I feel the same way about my kids who are grown and my grandkids, that I tell them, I wish you could see the country I grew up. My kids even say, I wish you could see the country I grew up in. It's changed that much in the last 20 years.
Oh, I agree. I tell my daughter, I'm going to tell you something and you're not going to comprehend it, but in the summertime, I would leave my house in the morning and I was gone till dinner. Gone. And can't do that anymore. And it's unfortunate. And whether we're all paranoid or not now, it doesn't matter what the reason is. You can't do it. And on and on and on and on and on about what we were. Yeah. So I do it for her.
I love that. Okay, in talking about this movie and your character Wesley, talk about the interaction and the scenes that you played, and in doing this film, what scene did you like? What was like either the passionate mean scene or the other scene? What was one of the scenes that you enjoyed particularly in your performance?
I think I enjoyed the scene with Samira Armstrong, where I'm giving her a hard time checking into the hotel. Did you see that scene where I'm making fun of her?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that scene was kind of, a little bit of that was improvised between she and I. She's a great girl, good actress, good to work with her, good person. That scene was fun. I think the scene with, Ray Wise, whom I adore, sitting in his house telling him that he might lose this election.
Yes.
Was also fun. There's little moments in there that are fun too. And, but I think those two scenes kind of stand out. I might have to think now. I haven't seen it in a while. But I think those two scenes are kind of fun. And there's one coming out of a building when I was on the phone. Did you see that one?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that one was kind of fun. That was kind of free and loose.
That's what I'm saying. This is a very different role for you, I felt, from anything I've seen you in and whatever you've done. So I thought it was kind of freeing for you to play this kind of character.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. It was fun. I was happy to help the picture.
Oh, that's great. Well, in doing the campaigns for it and the press, I've seen you with David and out there talking about it and getting out there. What's kind of been the response? Are people excited about this movie and feeling it's very, pertinent to what's going on? What's the feedback?
Well, I don't know, because I've only feedback from you guys. So
Okay.
Nobody's seen it yet, but I don't know. Hopefully it's positive, and hopefully we can get people to the theaters on September 12th.
Yes.
To make Hollywood see that there's a place for these kind of films, and hopefully it'll be successful.
Well, I'm glad it's coming out before the election, and I'm glad it's coming out in enough time that enough people can see it and the word of mouth spread, because I think that's going to be, I thought this one more than some of the other ones I've seen. I don't know if it's just that it's more relevant or pertinent, but it was like right on target. I mean, literally the debates, everything that they have, building up to it. It just felt like, okay, this is a time for now. This is a great film for now. So I think the word of mouth will catch on. They'll be excited about it. And I know. Are you still living in California?
No, we're in Florida.
Okay, you're in the Free State. Because so many people that I talk to and do interviews with, I mean, they've left the state. You know, they couldn't work there anymore. You couldn't live there anymore. I myself moved from there 2 years ago. You just can't do it anymore. So I'm in Texas now, and where God and country are number one here. So believe me, this state, for one, will support this kind of movie. And I think it just depends on where you live and where you are. But I know there's patriots here that will love this kind of message and the story.
Yeah, I agree. And I got a good buddy of mine lives in Texas, somewhere outside of Dallas, just moved there from LA. So it's, it's happening. And it's unfortunate because California is beautiful, but can't live there anymore.
And that's true. And that's what I say to my friends, because, I lived there for, almost 3 decades. It's beautiful. I miss the beauty, but I don't miss the politics and I don't miss the people. And I think that's important where you're at. And especially in raising a family and, with you raising your 16-year-old. And you've got to be in a place where you feel that. So I think this movie also deals with that. I mean, there's a lot of side stories about people that can't afford to have a house. People can't afford living. This really covers more than just politics, this movie.
I agree. And it's a good film. It's a really good, solid movie.
Have you got any other films that you're looking at right now or stories that you're looking at doing?
No, I just exist. I'm in here in Florida. I take care of my daughter and my wife. And that's trying to get our house. We just moved here about a year or so ago. Just trying to get the house together, and which is not easy. So
to get it going. Well, I just didn't know. Scott, listen, now after this film and after it comes out, I think you're going to be getting some more calls. I think there's going to be some more people. I don't think people are aware that you were doing faith-based films. And I mean, I say that this is a faith-based, but I mean, any good film, I don't think people are aware of it. So this is going to, I think, get you out there and see other filmmakers get excited. Oh, this is great. We can work with Scott.
Well, I'm wide open, and I appreciate that.
You are beloved. Believe me. There are come on. At one point in time, you probably couldn't walk down the street. Let's be honest, right? Because I mean, of who you were and the shows you were in, you've had the gamut, you've run the gamut, and it's, it's kind of hard, not hard, but different to be decades away later and going, well, I'm sitting around in my house. At one point in time, it'll be hard for people to believe, but you've seen it all, you've had it all, but you're in a good place now, aren't you? With your life and who you are.
I'm okay, Holly. I appreciate the words. I do.
Oh, you are. Well, anything else you'd like to say about the movie or working with David A.R. White?
Just David's a great guy, become a friend of mine, and just go see the movie. It's a good movie. And take your wife, your kids, whatever, husband, take everybody. Enjoy it.
We will do that. Well, thank you again, Scott Baio, for being with us. And thank you for hold on, because I want to get a little shout out from you. So thanks so much.
You're welcome, Holly. Hi, this is Scott Baio, and you're watching Faith on Film. And watch me in God's Not Dead, In God We Trust on September 12th.
Another wonderful job, Holly.
Thank you. It's interesting, Isaac, because he was a little, I think he wasn't so much about the movie and happy promoting. He's really concerned about this nation. He's really concerned about where we're at. He's really concerned that there's 40 to 60 million Christians who do not vote, which was shocking to me to learn that fact. And so, because I think it's heavy on his heart of where this nation is and really how relative this movie is about, judgment and Christians and not wanting conservatives. I mean, it really is a relative story. So this isn't like the other God's Not Dead movies in the fact that this one is so not for this time, not only relevant for this time, but it's kind of a standalone, isn't it, Isaac?
Yeah. And you know what? It definitely, this whole, so many Christians that are not voting thing just really, really made me angry a little bit, because
me too.
Here we think, well, we trust in God, we depend on God, and He's the one that's going to make this, country great again and all that. But if we don't go out there and vote, this country's not even going to let us reach out to God to make sure that we have a good country here.
Exactly. Christians are being so discriminated against already. How could you vote for a suppressive government that's going to suppress it even more? And we're not saying how you should vote, but I'm just saying take a look at platforms and take a look at freedoms and take a look where Christians have the most freedom. And as a Christian, that's where you should be voting. And I know it's hard these days. There's compromises on all sides, but I think that's what this movie is about. And also David A.R. White stars as the pastor. We have to say it. And he goes in and he runs for Congress, and Scott Baio plays the kind of mean lawyer that's trying to connive against him. And there's other great stars in this movie. It's well done. It's cohesive. It's not goofy. It's not, a goofy Christian movie. It really is something I feel like, reminded me of a Mr. Smith Goes to Washington kind of movie. It really reminded me of that. The Jimmy Stewart going there and, fight.
I'm so glad you mentioned it's not goofy because, look, I'm gonna share with you my opinion, which some people may not like too much, but it's my opinion. First of all, I absolutely loved the first one. Okay, totally loved the first one. Enjoyed the second one. The third and fourth, they were good. I'm not gonna say they're bad. It just, I don't know. It just didn't hit me as well. But one thing that I did not like about that first one, and again, remember I said I loved the first one. But what I didn't like is how, but at the very end, the bad guy, which was Kevin Sorbo for that particular movie, and he was a really bad guy throughout the movie. And then at the very end, he gets hit by a car and suddenly he gives his life to Jesus.
Yeah, well, as they're standing and with the rain pouring on his face and no one's holding an umbrella, and they're forcing him scripture over him. Okay, that's not my idea, and we both talked about this. That was the turn for us for that movie.
A little bit.
Forcing someone when they're kind of laying down there in their deathbed, death throes. I get it, but it was just so awkward. But also that movie did really well because at the time Noah came out, and there was a whole movement fighting against the Noah movie and all that. With this one, it's in box office right now, and there's so many films. The Forge, Reagan, God's Not Dead, and God We Trust. And in fact, the next movie we want to talk about, You Gotta Believe, that's in theaters too. A different kind of story about faith, but about baseball. And I love talking about this one. It's a pretty exciting film.
Yeah, and you're not only talking about it, you went to the red carpet, didn't you?
I did. I got to go to Fort Worth because the story is about this Fort Worth baseball team. So they did the premiere in Fort Worth. And we had big stars, Luke Wilson, Greg Kinnear, Patrick Kinnear, a lot of other people that are in this movie. And it was fun and exciting to get to go on the red carpet and interview them and talk to the real kid. Okay, in the movie, this coach is coaching the team, and you're going to see the trailer. And he has his two boys playing on the team, and then he finds out he has melanoma cancer. And then Greg Kinnear that plays the other coach that helps him. So as it progresses, the father is getting sicker with his disease, and it's how the boys rally. Well, the boy in the movie is now a grown man, and if you'll wait to the very end of the movie, folks, wait to the very end of the movie, he's sitting on a baseball field, and he's holding his young son, and he opens a letter for the first time that his dad wrote him before he passed away. And it is a touching finale to this movie, and we got to interview him too. So
absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, let's take a look at the trailer to the movie and then on to show just a little segment of your time at the red carpet.
Let's do it.
We move into the 11th inning. This is now officially the longest Little League World Series game in history.
You all right? Son, you got to keep your eyes open.
Technically, he didn't drop it. It dropped him.
Good to see someone so cares about the spirit of baseball.
What else in life is there, Sam?
I'd say we're looking pretty whooped here, right? What are you talking about? We still got a chance. Peter, no sleeping in the dugout.
Coach, got a proposition for you. You manage the All-Stars and make a run the Little League World Series.
I manage the worst team in the league.
You got 10 days to whip these boys into shape. Okay, yeah. Go team.
Let's get our rears in gear. Let's go.
Not bad, right? The game can change with just one hit.
Dad, go get Mom. Go get Mom. Help!
Where do we go from here?
Depends how hard you choose to fight.
There's nothing that makes me feel better than watching y'all play ball.
But we're awful.
Y'all need something to rally behind. Something that lights a fire in you.
I got something to rally behind. My dad. If we could just win for him, I know he could get better.
Bobby's always been there for us. Now it's time we're there for him.
1, 2, 3,
We never expect to be in this situation, but here we are. Welcome to Williamsport, boys. You sure those are boys?
That guy has a mustache.
they can beat the odds, so can I. How you feeling?
My arms drop. It's just a game, Bobby.
It's more than that.
He wrote that to me a long, long time ago, but what a special time to do it, right? I got my kid in my arms, and pretty neat that my dad did that too, to leave me something. So it was a pretty surreal moment.
They're fun movies to watch, sports movies, but they're complicated. Just with the games and the practices, and how much do you have sports, and how much do you have scenes with dialogue and emotion. So it's a very fine line, and one that I wouldn't know how to piece together.
I really wouldn't be a great coach. I never was. And so playing the guy who just really has no place being there came to me very naturally. It does have a little depth and the DNA of a real honest tragedy happening, which is a tricky balance because you want to keep the inspiration of the story intact and alive. And ultimately, it's a baseball movie. So a lot of different things to juggle in this. And
but it did it well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good.
And it's an incredible one. You got to believe the kind of, force behind the whole thing. And it's about a group of guys that had no business being a Little League World Series, let alone almost winning it, So, and then obviously the Ratcliffe family story that's part of it, which is, pushes the whole thing. It's a very special movie. I'm Patrick Rena. I played Cliff, and you're killing me, Smalls. Yeah.
You had fun.
Didn't you love where he said, "You're killing me, Smalls"? I got him to say it. He kind of blurted it against us. Not going to tell him the same. My voice has changed. He was so much fun. This movie, you guys, again, please support it. If you can't find it in theaters, go to their website. You got to believe and support the cause. And it's a true story, and it really hits a lot of different levels of emotion and support for not only what kids are going through to compete. And remember, everybody, that was 2002. People that remember that was a pretty big playoff game. It was exciting. So there's exciting baseball in this movie. There's camaraderie, kids sports. It really is a good film. So again, another faith-based it really is just a true story that involves faith, but it's a good family film story.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up today's show, Holly. We just want to remind everybody to check out our website, faithonfilmtv.com. Just lots of great stuff in there. You'll see a lot of Holly's interviews with Hollywood celebrities. So you definitely want to go, faithonfilmtv.com. All right, Holly, that's it for today.
Had a great show. As always, I love it. Isaac, thanks so much for allowing me to co-host with you, and God bless all of you for watching.
Bye-bye now.
Write to us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Faith on Film TV. Also, go to our YouTube channel, Faith on Film TV, and hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications on our latest Faith on Film shows.